The trade deadline for the 2023 Major League Baseball season is still some way off, or more accurately, months away. However, it's too early to tell which players will be available. However, we can frankly speculate about stars that may eventually become available. In this video, we are going to talk about MLB players most likely to be traded in 2023. DH RHP Shohei Ohtani, Los Angeles Angels. Well, it just has to happen, right? Because enough people have been willing to make it happen for what seems like forever, and that's how these things work. In all seriousness, the mechanics of how a Shohei Ohtani swap might unfold aren't complicated. If 2023 is like the past 7 years, the Angels will not compete this year. Teams in that position typically cut losses by getting something for their pending free agents, and Ohtani is perhaps the most valuable hire in MLB history. True, the Angels could keep their two-way superstardom through the end of the season and look to win back a draft pick via a qualifying bid. But given the choice between a single selections or a myriad of players via a mid-season trade, any rational person would choose the latter. SS Javier Baez, Detroit Tigers. Javier Baez has served a full season so far on his 6-year, $140 million contract with the Tigers, yet he ended up on a list of potential compromise candidates by MLB.com's Anthony Castrofins in November. A bit too much, right? Actually, not actually. Baez tended to be at his best when he played for a contender. Detroit wasn't in that field in the midst of a 96-loss season in 2022, and this year almost certainly won't bring significantly better results. Namely, the Tigers have only a 2.9% chance of making the playoffs. Meanwhile, President of Baseball Operations Scott Harris was hired to rebuild from a failed rebuild under his predecessor Al Avila. Since signing Baez was his own decision, one wonders if Harris would move him this summer if the opportunity presented itself. SS Amed Rosario, Cleveland Guardians. Speculations about the Guardians trading with Amed Rosario has been swirling all winter, and not without good reason. The Guardians are of course a small market team who generally preferred to save money during Larry Dolan's time as a team owner. One therefore has to wonder whether the club's planned $22 million payroll increase for 2023 has already thought about ways to cut costs. To that end, a Rosario trade would take a $7.8 million salary off the club's books. It's not his higher salary, mind you, but it's probably the most expendable of the greatest. The Guardians might just trade Andres Jimenez to shortstop with Tyler Freeman, Gabriel Arias, or Brian Rocchio filling his vacant spot at second base. To be Gleyber Torres, New York Yankees. Yankees manager Aaron Boone insists he sees Gleyber Torres' immediate future as an everyday presence at second base, but the question remains whether Torres has a long-term future with the team. He's seen the rumors surrounding his name this winter, and while he seems to want to remain a Yankee for the foreseeable future, he hinted that the feeling isn't necessarily mutual. It would be a huge shock if the Yankees don't compete this year, but there could be a scenario where Torres is still available. Let's say DJ LeMahieu is healthy and Josh Donaldson plays better at third base. In that case, the Yankees will be able to spare an infielder in a trade for, say, a starting pitcher to replace Frankie Montes while he recovers from shoulder injury. LF Tyler O'Neill, St. Louis Cardinals. With Tyler O'Neill, Dylan Carlson, and Lars Nootbaar currently line up left to right, and top prospects Jordan Walker and Alec Burleson also line up for playing time, the Cardinals appear to have more outfielders than necessary. Even if the team competes as expected, it is not hard to imagine one of them going elsewhere this summer. O'Neill could be the one, as control of the club is drying up and he's seemingly the most expendable of the bunch. He was a two-time Gold Glover, but only once in a full 162-game season. He hit 34 home runs in a season, but 13 of those came in the final month of that season. The image is of a hypothetical ceiling high enough to attract rival clubs, but which the Cards know is lower. RHP Lucas Giolito, Chicago White Sox. Albeit very briefly, Lucas Giolito's name appeared in the transfer rumors in December, courtesy of comments John Heyman made about winter games on MLB Network. That was pretty much it, but the Giolito name is worth keeping in mind for the summer, since he is slated for free agency at the end of the season. He would be a natural fit for the trade lockout if the White Sox fell out of the AL playoff race. Sure, Giolito himself dares to bounce back after struggling last season, but he should be doable, as he appears to have learned the right lesson by putting on too much weight last offseason and consequently losing his mechanics.